Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of Health Matters. Tonight, I promise to be another interesting night of discussion. And our topic tonight, we'll be looking at the issue of rape. And we are going to be using Liberia today as another case study. So you are welcome. I'm your presenter, Pastor Patience Play, and wherever you are, stay tuned, share the broadcast, and at the appropriate time, you can, make all the comments, and you can call in. We will have our numbers on screen, which is 952-201-9287. So we want to say welcome to Health Matters. And tonight I have with me um, some very, very wonderful people again. We have our regular contributor and we have our guests tonight. I just want to give them the time to give their opening statement and they will tell you who they are. And I want to start with our guest because today is his first time on this broadcast. So we're going to start with him. Dave, you are welcome. You are welcome to Health Matters. We can hear you, Dave.
Yes,
Good.
I said thank you so much for the invitation you have extended me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Taking up from your busy schedule and making it possible to be here with us today. We appreciate that. Fasia,
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fasia Hilton. As you all know, I'm a regular on this podcast, on this platform. I am a family nurse practitioner, and it is a pleasure to be here.
thank you. Always good to have you, Fasia. And today we're talking about the issue of rape in Liberia. In fact, this week I dedicated this week to all the rape victims and their families because it is a terrible thing to go through. The trauma alone is just something else. And to see what is happening is so troubling. You see 3-year old being raped, you see 4, you see 6, and so on. Tonight, I just want to go through a brief statistics that I have here with me, um, courtesy of Hawa Menska. She's another activist when it comes to the issue of women and children. And I just want to go through it a little bit so you can have an idea of what is happening in Liberia. Now, in the month of January, cases of that were she recorded or so. We in on January 12th, there was a case. A 9-year-old was raped.
Hmm.
January 10, 13-year-old. January 19 or 12 years old. January 11 or 7-year-old. And the 12th again, or on the 12th of January again, another 12-year-old. And the 14 or 10-year-old.
Wow.
The 11 again, another 11-year-old. On the 18, 15-year-old. On the 17, a 17-year-old. On the 10th, a 15-year-old. On the 11th again, a 12-year-old. On January 1st, which was New Year's Day, a 16-year-old. January 4th, a 17-year-old. January 7th, 15, January 13, a 12-year-old January 19, and 16-year-old. And then the course of uh, last week, we had, was a 3-year-old, and we also had the 4 and the 6-year-old. So just looking at this alone, we know that something is really going on, and we really, really, we try to figure out what it is. What, you know, it brings me to the question: what's going on? What is happening? What is the cause? Why do we have the increase of this rape cases in Liberia? Why do we have such a huge number? These names or the dates that we listed here tonight, it might not be official. These are things that people just call and say, "Oh, this is what happened." But I'm pretty sure that the list will be longer if it was, official. So we are looking at the possible causes of this tonight, and then we are also looking at the solution, possible solutions, because we can have all the solutions. So I'm going to be asking. I want to start with Fasia tonight. Fasia, having heard, the intro of this, what do you think is the cause? Yeah. Because we discussed this the last time. We talk about rape, we talk about, what it was and everything. And we just want to look at what, because we want to see what they are seeing. And then how can we make some recommendations.
I think two things comes to mind. Yes, most times people will focus on the law, that, oh, the law is not is very lax on these people, on these perpetrators. But we also have to look at the families as well. And I know people will they will kind of say, well, why you putting your blame on the family? We have to, because in the case of this 3-year-old child, where were the parents? Where was the custodial parent? Now, I'm not saying that the parent is at fault here, but the parent is partly to be blamed, because knowing of all these rape cases in Liberia with little girls, I, as a mother, my 3-year-old child will not leave my sight. And especially to be in the environment where there are boys and there are men, and then for her to be alone with that. As we all know here, let's be practical, let's be realistic here. Okay? If it was here, that parent, whomever is in charge of that child, there will be charges on her as well, or on him as well, or on them as well. Because we are talking about abandonment. It may not be intentional, or we are talking about neglect, because that child should not be out of your presence. You should know what that child is. Maybe I don't know the full story, but I'm just trying to be realistic here, to be practical.
Patient, we're not
We're
hearing
not
you.
hearing you.
You mute.
Yeah. Let me hold you a little bit. I listened to the video of the accused, and then he stated that he's familiar with the family. It's like he's in and out, and sometimes he's left with the kids to take care of them. So in that case, will you be holding the mother responsible, because this is someone that is familiar? The child know the person, and everybody else know him, and they know that, I mean, they never thought about something like that happening.
In that case, it is a thin line, but I mean, if we're going by the law,
Mm-hmm.
they might still hold her accountable, or. This is a very sad issue. As a mother, I mean, I would want to go and rip that man's face or that boy's face off
Hmm.
for doing such a gruesome act to that little 3-year-old girl. That little girl is damaged physically,
Okay, we will come back
mentally,
to you, Fasil.
emotionally.
We'll come back so you can tell us the medical, aspect of it, and the side effect. Or Dave, we want to come to you on that same question.
Mhm. Regarding the cause of rape, the first thing we also have to understand is rape itself is violence, and it's a form of violence that is perpetrated against another person, and especially believing that this person is weaker in stature, is weaker in to some extent in value. And first, before you even commit a violence act against a person, what starts in the mind of that individual that is perpetrating the violence is first degrading that person, that this person is incapable of gaining the kind of respect that they deserve. So you dehumanize that person,
Hmm.
devalue the person, and then so it's an act of trying to exert control over another person. The reason why you try to exert control over another person, well, it may have some psychological dimensions to that, but that's another long story.
Hmm.
And what we should also understand is rapes cut across all cultures, all countries, all creeds. The poor, the rich, powerful people commit rape or they commit sexual violence against other people.
Okay.
Um, Maybe in Liberia, as you rightly said, that there is a lot is on the increase. It could be on the increase, or it may be the same. But the only thing that there is some degree of awareness at this point in time. We have social media, we have people in various parts of the country that are able to report that. So now we are becoming more aware of it. Maybe in time past, because we didn't have the media and people of interest. And then also, people concealed the information for some reason. So we did not have the kind of information that we now have. Um, what causes rape? A lot of things are may do that. Some people are deranged,
Hmm.
perverts in their thinking, in their behaviors. Maybe there could also be some cultural beliefs about rape. As to there are some cultures that they believe that raping a child innocent is a form of cleansing, is a form of ritual so that something positive can happen in your life.
Hmm.
And you know, so a lot of reasons, and then there's some that we may not even understand why someone will perpetrate such violent act
Wickedness.
against an innocent person. So has Sister Fasia started about the educational aspect, the awareness aspect of it too. I think we will get into that, but there are a lot of reasons for that. Another thing that we also have to look at is we as a people, how do we value people
Hmm.
who are, that's a significant question. Who is a human being? Who do I value as a human being? And those things should also be embedded in our national consciousness as to who do we think we are? Who do we think the people of Liberia are? Who are they? And if we can find that definition, and how we should treat them, then maybe we can begin the discussion as to what needs to be done and how we should proceed with that.
Absolutely. Before we get to that, I want to ask Fasio, the medical, you know, the side effects of rape, because I know I'm talking about the physical side effect, like your body. It has to do with your body. We have not even come to the mind, because Doc will tell us about the mind. But because most of the time you see these things, there's so much that happen to the reproductive organs that it causes some unusual stuff. You want to just educate us on that a little bit before we move to our next question.
Yes, especially with this 3 year old. Her genital tract is not fully developed yet. Little girls goes through puberty starting from the age of 8. You know, I mean, this little girl, and from the pictures that I saw,
Mhm.
she had blood coming from her rectum and the vaginal area. So I am assuming that she was penetrated anally as well. So, I mean, I'm imagining based on the size of the perpetrator. I'm assuming this little girl had a tear in her vaginal area, and her rectal sphincter is just all messed up, and it could be a case where she could be infertile for the rest of her life. It could be the case where her rectal area is so damaged that she won't be able to control her bowel movement. And here there was a case in Philadelphia of a 5 year old girl that was raped by a female, and this female used the a wooden object to penetrate this
Wow.
little girl, both vaginally and rectally. And this little girl, she lost. She could not control her bowels because that a sphincter is the muscle that when you go to stool, you push out, it comes out, and then it just closes back in. Okay,
Mhm.
so she lost her bowel movement capability. They had to do what we call a colostomy, where they pull her intestine out through her stomach and reverse it, and then give her a bag where she has to stool in until that area was healed. So there are so many factors. And plus, this guy, we don't know what type of sexually transmitted disease he has, if he has HIV. I mean, there's a whole realm of complications, let alone the mental issue for this little girl, the trauma, the post traumatic distress disorder that she will go through.
Hmm. This is really serious. I just
This
can't.
is such a
I
gruesome,
just
yes.
yeah. Every time I think about this, it brings goosebumps. This kind of evil, when Dave was talking, you said sometimes it's cultural, and some. I wonder what kind of culture want to practice that kind of evil. Especially on a baby. I see it as more demonic than culture. More occultic, more evil than any kind of culture. But anyway, we want to go back to what can be done. What are some of the possible solutions, Dave?
Well, even before the solutions, it may not be a widespread or approved cultural practice, but it can also be due to some belief system in certain practices to to how that act is perceived in the society. And and sometimes we as a people we send messages to others that are misconstrued. And as I said again, before you perpetrate violence against a person, you first devalue that person, that this person is not capable of of gaining your respect. So when it comes to children, what is the place of children in our culture? When it comes to what is the place of women, how do we view or regard women within our culture? How do we regard people who are smaller than us in
Hmm.
our culture, in our value judgment? Is this a person that you see as gaining your respect and your honor? And if those questions, if you don't regard that person as a full human being, you can perpetrate whatever violence you think about, because it's also about conquest. It's about
Hmm.
control. You want to demonstrate how maybe strong, how powerful you are. Psychologically, now that's how I will conceptualize it. But deep
Hmm.
within that person, there is also a sense of emptiness, a sense of worthlessness. And
Yeah.
who wants to feel worthless? Who wants to acknowledge that he or she is worthless, is unhappy, is a sad person? You do not want to feel that way. And as the result, you want to channel that form of anxiety that you are experiencing, that sense of worthlessness, you want to channel it in a way that will prove that you are something. And how do you want to prove that? By subduing, by controlling
Hmm.
someone who you think you can control or who you can subdue. So it comes out of some degree of inferior complex, incapability, worthlessness that you feel within yourself. Okay. So,
Hmm.
so, so as I was saying again, then what is the role of women? Do our society look at women as object? What is it? What does honor mean to you, to us as a people? Does honor means you are honored, you are respected if you subdue another person, if you
Hmm.
conquer another person? Is that what we view as honor? So these messages that we may be sent in our society, in our family, in in government, in schools, those messages are interpreted differently. And others would interpret them in a way that, yeah, that person is not worth of respect. Therefore,
Hmm.
let me subdue them. Therefore, let me hurt them. Let me perpetrate this form of violence against them.
So it's already premeditated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we see more of these now.
Hmm.
So like you said earlier that these things were happening before, but maybe we didn't know about it, and so and social media has its own part to play. The information is spread across. Okay, granted. Now that it is spread across, and everybody know what is happening now, what is the criminal justice system doing about this whole issue? Because if the news is all over, then they should be adequately prepared to handle this situation. Why is it not happening?
Um, you want me? Um,
I know
a
you're
lot.
not in government, but
Yeah. No, a lot
we
of
can,
reasons. A lot of
yeah.
reasons. A lot of reasons. Some genuine reasons, Some just maybe lack of knowledge, incompetence can be also at the center of it. But at the top of them too also is the lack of resources. Okay,
Yes.
our legal system sometimes even becomes paralyzed.
Mm.
They don't have the understanding, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the, and our policing system perhaps also lack the necessary resources. How do you go about even investigating rape? How do you go about apprehending the perpetrators? And does the society, do we even have the resources to reach to the people? Do Because to persecute a crime, it just doesn't start immediately and then it is resolved immediately. There are a lot
Mm.
of legal implications and intricacies
Yeah.
that people have to go through, and those things require resources, they require training, and then the willingness to persecute. Do we even have a court system that is well organized, that is well equipped to handle those issues? Do we have a police system that is able to handle such or cases as well? And as we said, that rape doesn't just occur among the poor, among the weakest of society. Sometimes the most powerful of society is
Yeah.
involved in those things. It may not be against kids, but maybe against even your co-workers. There are various
Yes.
forms of how
Yeah.
or
Sexual
sexual
harassment.
violence, yeah,
Yeah.
can be perpetrated. Is our system capable, prepared? Is it funded to the point that they can do that? Is the system that independent to have the gust, the energy, the competence, and the capability to persecute people who are considered the bishops, the
Mm.
top people, the well connected of our society? Can you do that? And if we cannot, if justice cannot be fair to the ordinary person,
Mm.
the top people will continue to escape, and the more those people escape, that also reinforce the belief that certain people are are not value as we value the rest of the people.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of of challenges, and resources has have to be channeled appropriately. We know resources are scarce; they're not much, but target the most prominent, the most needed aspect of it, and maybe it will come to even reducing waste in government, unnecessary spending, putting money where it's not supposed to be, but and not protecting the most vulnerable of our society.
Mm.
That sends the wrong message to our country and to the people.
Yeah. The last time, everyone, I mean, most of the people on the internet, especially Liberians, they heard about this book that came out, and with all the news about the first lady being mentioned by the husband and so forth. And there was a group that went out and they were marching and they were, protesting. I really don't know the reason why they were really protesting, but it was all about because the book mentioned, the first lady. I mean, and I come to wonder, just by someone making reference to this lady about what her husband said, and this evil that is being perpetrated in the land. And I have not seen the group that was marching, that was advocating and having press conference and talking about, oh, they should do this and they should do that. I'm wondering what's happening to them. Should they be the case? Should you be mute in such a case? I want to come to Fasil. What do you think is happening in that society? We are just it's just hard to fathom. I try to figure out why will you come in, demonstrate, come in the street, talk about just somebody being made mentioned in a book, and here is someone crying, someone destiny is being destroyed, and nothing is being said. I've not seen any demonstration taking place. I mean, last week I'm still looking, I'm still watching to see whether the advocacy will continue. They're seeing women, they were women, and these people have children, they have grandchildren, and they are expecting something good to come out of their children. But here, we have babies that destiny is being destroyed, and they are mute.
You're
Fasia,
right. You are right. I mean, I commend them for coming out in support of what was written about a woman. If you're going to write a book about whomever and you describing the person's wife, that's the way you can say it. But that vulgarity of how it was mentioned. So I applaud them for coming out. But at the same time, this is a case as well that we need to come out and we need to speak out. Because if we don't speak up and speak out, nothing will be done. Nothing will be done.
exactly.
And I just want to mention, when the panelist said that, one of the issue is lack of resources. It's not only lack of resources in the justice system, but also in the medical system. Because with a rape case, it is a very delicate case. Not anybody or any medical practitioner should be able to examine this child or should be able to examine the rape victim. There should be a certified person, a certified medical personnel. Here we call them the scene nurse, SANE. That's for sexual assault nurse examiner. SANE. And that nurse is a registered nurse that is specially trained and is certified to be able to examine this victim, the rape victim, and she will be able to do the forensic examination. And she is also able to go into court and testify on what her conclusion or her examinations revealed. So it shouldn't be just any medical personnel that should examine this child or the victim. Also, one of the mistake and that will happen to anybody when a person is raped. The first thing they want to do is to go and take a shower and get clean. That's a no because then you are washing off all
The
of the evidence.
evidence. Mm-hmm.
So I want our people to know if anybody is raped and if they're going to go to the fullest, then they should not wash off, they should not take a shower because the perpetrator semen is in them. That's the only what's the word I want to use? That's the only proof, the only proof
Yeah.
that we can get is that person's semen, that person's body's fluid. So if you go and take a shower and wash off and wash everything off, then you are just washing away evidence. It's easier said than done because when a person
Mm-hmm.
is raped, they say they feel dirty, they feel
Shame.
filthy,
Yeah.
which is understandable.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
here, when a person is raped, we tell them do not take a shower. And if the scene nurse is not on duty, we call her. We will keep the victim. No one will touch her. I mean, if it's a life-threatening situation, then we'll treat her medically for that life-threatening situation. But where she should be examined, all of those fluid, we will not touch it until that same nurse is here because she is qualified to do that exam.
Or it brings me to the question I was just about to say this when the person made mention of it. Do we even have the capacity? We have the machines or so to do this examination.
I mean, there's not much to it. And there are funds that are allocated for certain things. A nurse can be trained. They can send a nurse. They don't have to come to the U.S., but I'm sure there's places that they can go to be trained.
Yeah, apart from the training, do we have the equipment to determine from the cement to determine the this is, this is the person's semen, or the DNA match, you know, to know that indeed
True.
he is the
That's
perpetrator.
another question. Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, I
maybe we
mean,
can
we
That
don't.
I
say
can't
something.
answer.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, we don't. We may not have the resources. They may not have the equipment. So maybe we can start from just the basics, where generally say you should believe the victim when they come out to say that. So if the person report that, that itself we should regard that. And rape occurs in, and even in consensual relationships, where even people married or so. And as long you impose your will on this person
Yes,
without their
consent.
consent, that itself can be deemed as rape. So even in our society, despite the lack of the resources, the means to detect, we can start from somewhere, from even
Yes.
from the neighborhoods. If the girl or the boy reports that this person raped me, that's somewhere we should start from. And like the sister was also saying about the person washing up, in the first place, that culture of blame, it causes some women or even men not to report it. They want to quickly
Hmm.
maybe wash away the evidence. As you said, they feel dirty, but not just being physically dirty, but emotionally dirty. That what have I done? Maybe I'm the one who provoked this. And you find out that most perpetrators of rapes, they will constantly blame the victim.
That's
You
right.
know,
Hmm.
I remember some years ago, it's a bad practice that people do. Um, and it's even across Africa, even not even just Africa, where a girl wears a mini skirt or some dress code that is that they will consider as provocative. Okay, what happens? People begin to accuse her of trying to entice men. Okay, that kind of culture. Why are you dressed with a very short skirt? And sometimes I tell folks, like, do you think that girl, or maybe what is it that you are, you that weak, you cannot control your own passion, that
No
what
way.
that another person's dress code has to be your motivation? Maybe that girl you see over there, the skirt she's wearing is not for her. Maybe it's for her little sister.
But
You
that
know,
dress code thing
yeah,
don't hold because the
yeah,
babies, the babies, they don't wear short dress. They wear.
yeah. So I say, guys, let's look. People have to rethink this whole thing about, oh, that girl trying to entice me. Okay, what does that have to do with you? It's her body. That's how she wants to dress.
Yeah, you lack self
Or
control.
yeah, or maybe that girl doesn't have a big skirt. That's the little one she can afford. You know, so forget it. It's you. Train yourself, inform yourself that you have rules in the society, that you have to respect the dignity of another person, respect them, regard them, respect what they wear. And not because you feel something, it means that you should act on it.
I
Come
know.
on, guys. Yeah, we all, who doesn't see an attractive woman and kind of cringe in their body? It does. It's natural. But that's how far it should go.
That's what make
You,
us different from the
yeah,
animals, right?
okay. That you have this little frontal lobe. so that you can make decision, you can evaluate your actions, like weighing pros and cons. What if I do this, if I commit this, what is going to happen to me? So not because you feel it, so you can jump after it. Okay. So again, I mean, not to sway, but the little resources that we have, let's utilize them to the
Mhm.
fullest, to the best of our ability. First, believe the woman or believe the man when they say that. Let the society, our community act together
Mhm.
to report those kind of things. You know, putting yourself in another person's shoes. What if? Think about it. If that 3-year-old child was my child,
Yeah. What will I do?
what will you feel?
Mm.
I
Exactly.
can't imagine that. Okay. I can't imagine that because
Mm.
the police will not take you to the police station now. They're going to take you to the morgue, you know. So that's 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 how we should also think about it. What if this were in my shoes? If this were in my case, how will it feel? If this was my daughter, if this was my son, my brother, my nephew, how does it go? How would it feel? That little girl that's passing with her mini skirt, and you are doing all the cat calls and all of that, calling her names. Oh, you that, you hopo, you this and that. What if that were your sister? Will
Mm.
you still like her to be called that way? You
Mm.
know, we'll begin to examine ourselves, think about it. How will another person feel? How would I feel if I were the one this being done to? Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, like you were saying, like how the ladies were like up in arms against a book. Um, you see, and look, we can go on and on and on. This is part of the culture of this reactive society that we have. They look at one little shining object and they react to it instead
Mm.
of us discussing these things and dealing with them within a broader national context. Instead, we just pick little things, choose them, and we react to them. And once that particular shining object goes away,
And we'll
we
find
all
another
go
one.
into our own shells and waiting for the next shiny
Hmm.
objects that we can react to. That's not that's not how to govern. That's not how to lead.
Thank you, Dave. Well, this is Health Matters, a program by the Fortified City International Ministries. I'm looking at also the faith-based organization like the churches, the mosque. This is the time we need to start talking because it's just the whole thing is just too much. And maybe when the churches and the mosques, when they get involved into awareness and different kinds of advocacy, maybe I believe it will help a little. And maybe it's going to put pressure on the government so that, justice can be served. But we can't just be silent. We can't just allow the situation to remain as it is, because the more we keep silent, the more, I mean, the perpetrators out there, they're looking for the next victims, all the pedophiles. And I think it's about time that those people that are doing these things, they need to be, they have them listed, so that people can know within the community, if this person is doing this, we need to
Yes.
know so
Yes.
our community can be safe. So by the time, and that person should be banned from, maybe, living in a place where there are so many children, because we don't want, a
Many children.
reputation
Yes. Yes.
of this thing. But every time these things happen, we hear nothing again. Nothing. We just hear about the victim. The next thing, they keep the person in the cell for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. They go and say, we will talk at the family when the person come out of jail. The next thing you know, they are in a community looking for the next victim. This should not be so. You know, like you were saying, Fasia, the parent. The parent, we need to be aware of the kind of people our children associating with, about the people that are in your community. Maybe, some of these people, they,
Yes,
they have some
definitely.
habits. Yeah, they have some habits that maybe if you even start noticing, then you will know that they are those kind of people. We need to be alert. We need to be alert in our community so that at the end of the day, we can be running around because these things happening and nothing is being done to the person. The family way. Let's talk it. Why should we be talking in the family way? In fact,
Well, maybe they don't know the extent, the gravity of the issue.
yeah.
When you even talk about that, first we can take a universal approach. I'm not saying it in a way that I should scare other people or make them paranoid that they will suspect anybody that is here around. But we parents and everybody have it at the back of your mind that sexual violence, rape, as we call it, those who perpetrate it, they come in all forms.
Hmm.
Okay? Don't not because this
All
guy
forms.
is a
Yes.
zogo, he dirty, he walk in the street, therefore he's the one that can only commit rape.
No.
Rape occurs even with the preachers,
Mm-hmm.
the teachers,
Yes.
the
Anyway.
the
Mm-hmm.
the rabbis, the priest, anybody,
The uncle.
anybody can do it.
Yes.
The uncle, especially the people that are closest to you.
Close
Most
to you.
rapes,
Yes.
relatives, the first, because they are closest to you, they feel comfortable to you. So that awareness, keep it at the back of your mind that not because this person call you cousin, uncle, nephew,
I know,
and they
right?
look nice, keep an keep an eye on them. The teacher, keep an eye on them. Have that awareness. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that you should just go around suspecting people and saying all, but have it at the back of your mind that this thing can happen to
Anyway.
anybody and anybody can perpetrate it. Even the guy with the clerical on his neck, has somebody was preaching and said, if you give the devil Bible, he will hold it. If you give the devil a clerical, he will wear it. He or she, let me not even say he,
So
he or
true.
she or they will wear it. Okay. So to some extent, hold people in some suspicion until they prove otherwise. You know. So let's have that, folks should have that at the back of the mind. And then has you were saying as well that the information, everybody has to join that into spreading that news, because it's not only the individual that is the victim, but society becomes the victim as well. The sister talked about the sexually transmitted diseases that puts stress on the medical services. The time we're supposed to be spending treating maybe malaria or typhoid, and the little resources, now we are using that to treat sexually transmitted diseases. Okay, so it has a broader impact on the society. Rape changes a person's entire life. It causes them to be
Yes.
depressed. There is suicidal ideations. Some people resort to alcoholism, substance abuse, lack of trust in their relationship, lack of trust even with their fellow person. So if we have those kind of things, imagine how it's going to disrupt relationship, trust, confidence in a society. Okay, it's going to have a huge impact even on our service delivery, the medical system, that is the healthcare system, the social system, even the political system. All of these things can have far-reaching effect. So it becomes the prerogative of the church, of the school, of the family, of the little community, the football club, all of us, everybody has a stake in it, because it's not only that victim that is being affected, but that victim's family, the friends, and the community in which they live. So, it becomes all of us' responsibility to protect and be the ones to spread the message, so that we can have a at least, if not an outright solution, but that we can make real progress. You
We're
have
not
you
hearing
have
you.
used.
President Weah declared rape a national emergency some time ago. So, firstly, I want to ask you, how do we treat emergency? Because if you come and declare or rape a national emergency, then we should. I want to know how emergency cases are treated, because I don't see it like
Well,
that
rape,
in
rape,
Liberia.
rape is an emergency. Rape is an emergency, but if he's saying that, he declares it as an emergency, then he needs to put
National emergency.
good. If it is a national emergency, then
Mhm.
they need to get a team together. They need to get a team together, and then legislatures needs to give it attention. This should be a non-billable offense.
That's
It should be a
exact.
non-billable offense. But it seems like all of these perpetrators, they go and they give a statement and then they leave. So it becomes a norm to the society that, hey, I can get away with this. Why not do it? You think if they set an example of one perpetrator, trust me, those cases will decrease. From the cases you
That's
read
true.
off from January, there were 19 victims of rape.
I believe there are more
Youngest
than
being
that.
a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
This is an issue. This is a
Mm,
serious issue that needs to be dealt with, that needs to be talked about, and there needs to be some form of system in place.
mm. Well, time is fast spent. We gotta go, and I know Dave is also watching the clock because he gotta go to work. you know, but I want to say something. If something is declared an emergency, we should treat it as it is, like the emergency it is. So every sector of government should be treating that as an emergency.
Yes.
The police need to do the work. Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Gender need to do the work. The Ministry of Justice need to do the work. At the police station they have this women and children protection unit and all. And all the different uh, um, auxiliary that are involved into this, persecuting cases like this. They all need to treat this as an emergency, so that we will not have so much, you know, of all the cries and all the stories going around about rape. There are some questions here that people ask, but we don't have the time now to go through them. One of the like I was saying about the faith-based organization, uh, the person here said that. Let me bring his question. He said, "What's the role of faith-based organization in this discussion? And are the laws adequate, or is it the issue of law enforcement? It's more than just law enforcement. It's everything put together. And so if we're treating this whole thing as an emergency, I don't think we have this alarming number of rape cases that we keep having. So having said that, I want to close, and I want to give your closing statement as we conclude this discussion on rape. And this week, I declare this week, you know, the week that we are doing our advocacy and we are making sure we identify with those that were wounded, those that were raped, and the families. Because if you hurt one person, not just that person, the whole family is involved. So this week is our week that we identify, we keep talking about this situation, and we'll not get tired. So I know sometimes people come online and they come on Facebook when they say, oh, they're seeing thing, they say the same thing over and over. You can't get tired until we can see solution. We keep talking it. The word of God says faith cometh by hearing and hearing by the word of God. You got to keep saying it over and over for it to sink in. Since it is a national emergency, we will treat it as that. So your closing statement, I want to start with the Fasia.
Well, rape is a serious issue, and right now with the statistics that's going on since this January statistics that our sister Hawa made, it has become an endemic in Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
That is a serious situation. And if we don't do something about it, it will become a revolving door, and it will become a revolving circle that would just continue to happen and happen and happen. The law needs to come into play. Families,
Definitely.
parents need to keep their children, they need to know where the children are, especially girls. Because if a 3-year old can get raped, a baby can get raped. I hope that doesn't happen.
Thank you, Fasia. Thank you. Dave?
Thank you so much, patient, for letting me be part of your discussion tonight. Appreciate it. Um, Maybe in our advocacy, or as we try to make our little contribution to society, I think we can also reframe the language that we use with that. Rape, yes, rape is a crime. It's violence. It's an act of violence against another person.
Dave.
And so we have to elevate the discussion at all time that committing a violent act against another person, whether through and rape being the point of discussion right now, uh, that we should make it into a real national discussion. Rape is not just about, it's not, I mean, not just, it's not about sexual pleasure. No, it's not. Because that person is not seeking sexual pleasure, they are seeking control. That
Mm-hmm.
person is trying to perpetrate injury, is trying to hurt someone, is demonstrating power, wants to demonstrate power. And
Mm-hmm.
that form of violence is a crime, it's a humiliation of another person. So those who are the advocates, they have to speak the language that the people will understand, that the culture itself will understand. This culture about honor, this culture about purity, also we have to frame it differently. In our religious practices, we talk about this virginness, purity. What is the implication of being pure? We have to learn how to send that message to people. We have to preach that differently and in a way that it is not misconstrued, misinterpreted, and misused by evil perpetrators. So again, the church should have a role, the family, the mosque, everybody. It's a if it's a national emergency, we have to treat it with national urgency.
That's right.
Because if we don't, definitely the society is going to be ruined further. We already have a lot of problems, a lot of national problems on hand. And I don't want to be political. And Mr. President, if you said this is a national emergency, treat it as such.
That was
Elevate
1 year ago.
elevate the discussion. If Dave just says something in Liberia, there's a way that they're going to treat it. They say, oh man, come on. That man, he's just a Murphy guy. He just talks a lot. But if the president elevates these issues, he elevates them to the national consciousness of the people.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a national discussion. Who doesn't want to do what the president says? Or who doesn't want to quote the president as saying this or that? You know how we Africans we treat authority. People in authority are well respected. So, Mr. President, if it's a national emergency, treat it with urgency. And how do you do that? Let it be part of your national agenda. Let it be part of your discussion. Talk
That's right.
about it. Talk about it on a daily basis. You have the media, you have the biggest pulpit. Utilize it so that the things that you like to see in the country happen, the more you talk about it, the young people will listen. The young men will listen. The young women will listen. The older ones will listen. Our people love authority. The president says it. So elevate that, and the rest of the nation will follow.
We follow.
This is not politics. I'm just passionate about it. I am. I
This is
I
what it is.
I'm someone who interested in human behaviors and human interactions. That's what I do for a living. How to make people's lives better through psychology. Thank you again, patient, for letting me be part of this discussion. And thank you, Sister Facia. Um, I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Fasia. It's a pleasure having you on this program. And we want to say thank you to our viewers out there. Thank you for always supporting us and spreading the word. Uh, to conclude, this is a national emergency. And we are calling on the parents. Keep an eye on your children. We are calling on the community. When I was growing up, your child is everybody's child. That's how it
Yes.
was, and it should remain like that. We are calling on the faith-based organizations to be part of this national emergency. We must continue talking until something is done. We are calling on the government ministries and agencies that are responsible to prosecute and make sure you come to an end of the case and justice is served. And we are also calling on the president. The vice president is a woman. The first lady, also, she's the mother of the land. We are also calling on them so that they can add their voices to this national emergency. I want to say thank you, and we will be back here on Health Matters with another interesting program. Thanks for joining us. And I'm your presenter, Pastor Patience. Have a wonderful, wonderful the rest of your week. God bless you. You are healed in Jesus' name. Stay safe. Do all you can. Protect you, your family, and your community. God bless.
Good night.